Hey there. Tired of getting wrecked on meme coins because you trusted that one guy on Twitter? Or worse, aped into a coin that Andrew Tate shilled, thinking you'd get a Lambo? Yeah, we all been there. But don't worry, those days are behind you, because today, we're taking a look into setting up NotArb, your arbitrage platform to stay ahead of the curve in crypto. Roguewave here, and in this video, I'll walk you through everything you need to know to get your NotArb platform up and running with the basics. By the end, you'll have the tools and understanding to set up your own network of ARB bots. Here's what we'll cover. Intro, hello there. Prereqs, downloading and installing apps, logging in, securing your server, file transfers, making your Solana wallet, bot config, Jupyter config, running the platform, using screens, and finally the outro. You can keep track of where we're at by looking at the footer below or clicking through the chapter sections in this video. So, grab a drink, hodl tight, and let's turn those rekt trades into smart plays. Before we begin, you can also follow along on the Gitbook by going to docs.notarb.org, and there is where you can follow along and copy the links and commands, and it'll make it a little bit easier for you. Also, if you feel like you're stuck or it's going too fast, you can pause and then read the documentation from there. Let's get started. Alright, prerequisites. What do we need? To run the platform, you'll need a server as well as an RPC provider, and the platform will come with Jupyter API as well as the NotArb bot itself. And there's multiple ways you can set this up. You can either have NotArb and Jupyter running on the same machine connecting to an RPC node, or if you want to load balance, you can have Jupyter run on its own machine and that'll connect to an RPC node. With this, you're able to connect not just one NotArb server, but multiple at the same time. And just figure out what works best for you depending on your hardware constraints. For the RPC providers, there's a list of them you can choose from with various subscription fees. Just make sure that they have gRPC availability. For a server, you can choose between a virtual private server or a bare metal. It's advised to go with bare metal, but depending on your budget, figure out what will work for you. For server providers, you can look at the Gitbook. There's a list of them like 10x, Rakdog, OVH. Some will take crypto, but all of them will take credit card. It's your choice. And then on the machines, what you want to do is make sure that Ubuntu 22 or 24 is installed on there. In terms of specs, of course, better CPU, more RAM, the better. Whatever kind of falls in your budget range. And hopefully you make enough profits to start getting bigger and better servers. Alright, let's start downloading everything we need. Now, if you have your own set of tools that you want to use, feel free to use them. I'm just going to be using these, and you can follow along if you want. We're going to get PuTTY, FileZilla, VS Code, and WinRAR. Let's go to putty.org and download PuTTY. Select whichever version suits you, and go through the installation process. Alright, so we'll confirm that PuTTY is installed, as well as PuTTyGen. And we'll open that up and keep that in the background. We'll need these for later. Next, we'll download and install FileZilla. It's our way of uploading, downloading files to and from the server. And once it's installed, you can navigate to where you want to install your files on the left side, and we'll come back to this later. Now, you can use any text editor you want. For this, I'm just going to use VS Code. So I'm just going to download for Windows. Alright, so I downloaded the Windows version of VS Code. Just run through the installation, very simple, and when it's done, it'll open. When that happens, you can just minimize it. We'll come back to it. And finally, we're going to download the NotArb platform. Just head to the GitHub page, provided as the link below. And you can scroll down, and you can download the tar.gz file. And we'll grab that. Alright, let's take that file and move it to a location that's convenient or easy for you. And for me, I'm just going to paste it into the new location, and we're going to right click the file, the tar.gz file, and then we're going to extract it to this folder. Now you can either use the built-in Windows extract all. In my case, I'm going to use WinRAR just to extract here, but the process is still the same. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hover over WinRAR and then click on extract here. There it is, all extracted. And inside you can see that we have the libs and tools folders, as well as the configuration and shell scripts. And now is a good opportunity for us to look into these config files. Let's bring up VS Code, and we're going to hit File and go over Open Folder. Then we're going to navigate to where you put your NotArb files. And I'll just open up, go Desktop, NotArb, and inside that NotArb Unix, and that is the main folder. We'll select Folder and click on that. And then, yep, we trust this. And now on the left-hand side, you can see in the Explorer all the files, folders, and whatnot. And we can easily access and edit them. We're going to log into the server now using PuTTY. And first we're going to add a layer of security by creating a private key. And we'll do that by opening up PuTTYGen. If you don't have it open already, you can press your Windows key or search for PuTTYGen. Open that up. And we're going to generate a new private key by clicking the button. PuTTYGen will then have you generate randomness by moving the mouse in the blank area. That's what makes it random. You can see here it generated a public key for us as well. Right below, you can enter a passphrase, and this is where you can transfer the private key, and you can only use it unless you enter the passphrase. And when we're done, we can hit Save Private Key, and then you can save that in a safe location. Opening up PuTTY again, we're going to start entering all the information we need to log in. Your server provider should have given you all the credentials needed to log in, including the IP address or host name, as well as your admin account name with the password. So under host name, we'll put in the IP address given, leaving port as 22, connection type SSH, and we're going to label this session as NotArb. Hit save, and then we're going to open for the first time. Logging into a server for the first time with this, you're going to get a security alert. Just hit accept, and then now it'll ask you for your user. For Ubuntu or anything Linux, the admin will be called root. So you can type that in. And now we're going to enter the password. So with the passwords, you cannot see whatever you type. If you enter something wrong, like here, you're going to get an access denied. If you got a complicated password for the admin user, you can copy that password, left click inside of the terminal, and right click. That will paste the password in there, and hit enter. Then you're logged in. Now that we're logged in, let's see what we have in our current directory by typing ls and hit enter. And we just have a thing called snap. The first thing we're going to want to do is change our password. So it's something we can easily type in. And to do that, we're going to type in sudo password or passwd, hit enter. We're going to type in the new password. And then we're going to retype it. Hit enter, and then we can see that we updated it successfully. Then we're going to add a new user. We're going to call it NotArb by typing in sudo add user NotArb. We'll type a new password for NotArb, retype it again. It might have had a typo somewhere. Let's go ahead and try again by typing in Y and hit enter. Cool. All right, all this credential information, we could just keep hitting enter and say it's correct by typing in and entering Y. We're going to add the NotArb user to the sudo group, which will give it essentially admin permissions by typing in sudo usermod -ag sudo NotArb. Let's log into the NotArb account by typing in sudo su-notarb. And then you can see that it gives us a warning that you have to use the sudo command to execute admin or root commands. Inside of our user directory, we're going to create a directory for our SSH information. So we're going to type in mkdir ~/.sh. Then we're going to change mode, chmod 700, and then that directory. Remember the public key that we created using PuttyGen? We're going to add that to our authorized keys list by using nano, and that's our text editor inside of Linux. So you can copy the command nano ~/.sh /authorize_keys, and that'll open up the file. All we gotta do is go back to PuttyGen and then copy everything in this box. Select it all, Control C, or you can right click copy, and then click inside the terminal, right click to paste, and then we're good there. Control X, and then yes, save, and then we're good. Bring back the Putty window, and we're gonna start adjusting the NotArb session. So let's load that up, click on it, load, and on the left side for the category, we're gonna expand connection, and then expand SSH, expand auth, and then click on credentials. Right where it says private key file for authentication, click browse, and then select the private key in the location that you saved it. And that's what's going to be used now for logging in. Underneath connection, we'll click on data on the left side, and under login details, where it says auto login username, type in NotArb. So every time you run the session, it'll log in using the NotArb user and then use that private key. Finally, we'll hit save, and it's all set up. We're going to edit the SSH settings, so you can paste in this command or type it out. And using sudo, we're going to have to enter the password. And it looks like I messed this one up. Here we go. Now that we're inside. Now that we're in, we're going to use the arrow key to go all the way down, and we're going to look for this line here. We're going to uncomment it by hitting delete. I'm going to use Control O to save, hit enter, and everything looks good for now. I'll hit Control X to exit. Let's restart the SSH by typing in this command. Now, if you get an error saying it doesn't exist, then add a D to the very end of it, and that'll work as well. So it'll be, instead of restart SSH, it'll be restart SSHD. But you can see that both worked here. Let's try the new login settings. Let's double click on NotArb. That'll open up the terminal. You can see that it says it's using the username NotArb and then using the public key we pasted in earlier. Now it's going to ask for the passphrase that we put into PuttyGen. And you can see what happens when you get it wrong. And here's the right password, and we're logged in. We can close this now. Another trick in the command line is you can use the arrow keys to go back to previous commands, and then we're going to look for the one where we edited the SSH config file. Then we're going to hit enter. We're going to go down to permit root login, and we're going to change this from yes to no, so we can disable anyone logging in straight from the root user, which will give them all the power to do anything malicious to your server, and we don't want that. Then I'm going to Control X, yes, enter, and then we're going to restart the SSH so the changes can take effect. Next up in the security is we're going to set up our firewall, and in Linux we have a thing called UFW, or uncomplicated firewall. Now, just a big warning here, in case you mess up any of the configurations, then there's a chance you might be locked out of your server. At that point, you're going to have to talk to your server provider, and hopefully they can either log in directly or they'll just restart the whole server, and then you're going to have to start from scratch again. But we're just going to make sure that doesn't happen. The first thing we're going to do is type in the sudo ufw allow open SSH, and that's going to pretty much allow us to connect just as we are from our desktop to the server itself. You know what? We're going to enter it again just to make sure. You can see here that it skipped because it's already an existing rule, so awesome. Time to enable it by typing in sudo ufw enable. Then we're going to get a warning saying that it might disrupt any existing connections. We're going to take a leap of faith, hit Y and enter. And look at that, we're still connected, so cool. Then entering sudo ufw status verbose, that'll show pretty much everything we have set up for ufw. You can see that we have open SSH. Let's add HTTPS and HTTP in the rules as well. Then if we type in the ufw status verbose command again, you get to see all the rules we just created. We're at a good spot now to where we're going to update and upgrade our server. All we got to do is type in sudo apt update. Let it get all the updates. Then we're going to run sudo not upgrade. We're going to run sudo apt upgrade. It'll ask if we want to continue. Type in Y, enter. You'll get this screen to appear. You could just hit enter and then another window will pop up, hit enter again. Then we're updated. We're going to install fail to ban now. So we can type in sudo apt install fail to ban. Then it's going to ask if we want to continue. Y, enter. Another window will pop up, or sorry, screen. You hit enter, enter again. And now we'll copy or paste this command to where we're going to copy the config file as a backup. Then we'll restart fail to ban. Typing this command. And we're going to look at the status by running this. Looking good. Now, to get out of this, you can hit Control C. That'll get out of the status. And we'll just make sure that it's started by running the start command. Fail to ban will work right out the box, so we don't really need to do any configuration changes. Time to start using Linux commands. First thing we're going to do is ls or list, see what we have inside of our directory. Alright, so this looks like nothing. Let's just type it again. Alright. We're going to change directory by going up one by using cd space ... And let's see what we have by using ls. And you see we have NotArb and Ubuntu. And NotArb is our user home directory. So let's go inside of that by doing cd NotArb. And inside we're going to make a directory called bot. So we'll type in mkdir space bot. And let's go inside of it. Then we want to make sure that we are the owners of this directory. So we'll type in or paste this command to ensure that we are the owners of the bot directory. Alright, so it shows that cannot access bot because there's no file or directory, probably because we're inside of it already. If we type in ls, okay, yep. So we'll type in cd ... and then we'll run the command again. And now it looks like it ran. Let's bring back FileZilla, and in the top left, there's a button here that will actually add server listings, and you can save them. Click on that. And for the site manager, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new site. And on the right side, underneath the General tab, where it says Protocol, let's switch that from FTP to SFTP. And then we'll type in our host. You can leave port as default, and for the logon type, we're going to change this to key file, and then same thing as before, we're going to use the user NotArb, and then we're going to point to the directory of our private key. After we select the private key, let's rename the site by clicking on it, and then clicking on rename, and you can rename it to whatever you want, however you want to organize it. We'll just call this one NotArb. And yep, let's hit connect, and then we'll hit save password so it's always saved. We're going to enter the password for the private key. And looks like we're logged in. Alright, brief overview of FileZilla. Everything on the left-hand side is our local machine, and on the right side is the server that we have set up. On the left side, on our local machine, we can double-click on the NotArb folder, and inside we can see the NotArb Unix that we extracted earlier. On the right side, we have our server, and you can see that we have the bot directory that we created. We'll go ahead and double-click and go into that. On the left side, we're going to enter the NotArb Unix folder, and here's all the contents of the NotArb platform. What we're going to do now is we're going to upload all the files that we extracted from the tar.gz on the left side, our local machine. We're just going to select everything, right-click, click on Upload, and now all those files are uploaded. On the left side, let's go back to our PuTTY terminal, and let's type in ls to list everything. Looks like we're in the main directory or the home folder, so we're going to change directory to the bot by typing cd bot, and then we're going to type in ls. Here you can see all the files that are listed are the ones we uploaded. Now we're going to change the permissions of all the files, so we're going to type in chmod space +x space asterisk, and if we type ls again, you can see that all of our files previously that were white are now green. And if we go over to FileZilla and we refresh by right-click, refresh, and you can see how the permissions changed here as well. Pretty much what we've done here is made all of our scripts executable. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our Solana wallet, and the easiest way to do it right now is to use Phantom. And the great thing about Phantom is that you can have it on your phone, or you can have it as an extension on your browser. It'll work for Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. And the only thing you gotta do is just go to phantom.com and then install the extension for your browser. For me, I'm using Chrome, so I'm going to click download for Chrome. I've already got it installed, however, this is what it would look like. And the only thing you gotta do is click on add to Chrome, and you'll have a pop-up that says add extension, click that. And then once it's installed, you'll be brought to a menu. And when it comes up, it's going to give you two options to create a new wallet or I already have a wallet. We're going to create a new wallet, and that's going to create an account with multiple cryptocurrency wallets inside of it. And one of those will be Solana, the thing that we're going to use. The next step is just to continue with email. Go ahead and sign in with whatever email you want to use, Apple, Gmail, or whatever. Afterwards, it's going to have you create a PIN and then confirm the PIN. Next, you're going to create a password, so anytime you want to go into this extension in your browser, it'll confirm your identity. Just enter the password. Be sure to check I agree with the terms of service. And you're all done. So my Phantom icon was already pinned next to the address bar. What you can do is on the icon that looks like a puzzle piece, you can click on that, and then you'll see all of your extensions listed there. And what you can do is you can hit pin or unpin. In this case, we're going to pin, and then you can see that the Phantom icon will always be there. If you click on it, then you get to see the account that you just created with the multiple wallets. So here we see Solana and Ethereum. In the top left of the Phantom window, we're going to click on the icon that says A1, and it's going to bring up a side menu with all the accounts. Right now, we only have one, and we're going to hit the little pencil mark icon. That'll be for managing the accounts, and we get to see all the accounts we have. So we only have account 1. Click on that, and we're going to click on show private key. That password we entered earlier, we're going to put that in, and we're going to check the box, and this is important too, where don't share the private key with anyone, keep it safe, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the security features that NotArb has. But we're going to get the private key for Solana and click on that, and this will be the private key for this account. We're going to copy that, and we're going to open up Windows Explorer. Navigate to where you saved all your files. We're going to right click, hover over new, and we're going to click on text document, and we're going to label this key. So then we'll have a key.txt file. If we go to VS Code, we're going to see that key.txt is in our Explorer. We click on that, and all we got to do is just Control V or paste. We'll save it using Control S. Then we'll go to FileZilla And on the left side, our local machine, we're going to right click and hit refresh, and then you can see the key.txt file. What we're going to do now, we're going to right click it, click on upload, and now it's uploaded to the server. Cool, now that's uploaded, we can go back to Phantom in our browser. We'll hit done, and I'm going to click outside of the Phantom area and then click the Phantom icon again so we can go back to the account summary page. And I'm going to show you multiple ways to get your wallet address. One is to go directly into the Solana wallet by clicking on it. And then there's a button here where you can hit receive, or at the very top, you can click on the account and it'll bring up the list of all your wallet addresses. And you can actually click on the short link for the address and you'll see that it says copied. And to keep a track of all your transactions associated with that wallet, we'll just go to solscan.io, and then in the search bar, we can just paste the wallet address in there. Here you can see all the activity in your wallet, and because it's a brand new wallet, there's nothing here. The next step would be for you to send Solana to this wallet and make sure it's Solana only. And after you've done that, we're ready for the next part. Now we finally get to adjust the config files. Let's open up VS Code again, and we'll go into the bot config file. What we see here is the default config file. We're going to be making some basic adjustments to get the bot going. Ever since version 0.1.85, you're going to have to accept a terms of service as well as acknowledging the external price risk. We're going to copy the following, and that is just acknowledge terms of service equal to true, as well as acknowledge external price risk equal to true into our bot config file. And if you see here, we tried running the bot without the acknowledgement and it gave us this error. So in case you come across this, double check your config settings and that might be the case. And then you remember our private key pair file. The key.txt is what we're going to put where it says key path. And we're going to add a line, protect key pair, and set that to true. What that's going to do is NotArb is going to take your key pair file and it's going to encrypt it, so only NotArb can read it. Also, in the bot miscellaneous section, you can allocate threads to certain tasks. We have swap, Jito, and spam. You can set -1 to Jito and spam and that'll dynamically allocate. However, you cannot do it for swap threads. If you're just going to be using Jito arbitrage, then you don't need to allocate spam threads, and vice versa. If you're using spam, you don't need to allocate Jito threads. Depending on how many threads you have on your server, you can allocate them accordingly, but you're going to have to experiment and see what works best for you. Or you can just leave it at 0 if you're not sure. If you plan on having NotArb and Jupyter run on the same machine, you can leave everything underneath the Jupyter settings as is. However, if you change the port number on the Jupyter setting, which we'll show later, then you're just going to need to adjust this. By default, the config file will have everything set for the Jito strategy. Here you can see every setting for all the different regions that we have: Salt Lake City, New York, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, as well as Tokyo. And here's where you can fine-tune your strategies with Jito. So you have your timeouts, your pool sizes, the requests per second. Unfortunately, Jito has a default of 5 per second. You can request more, but you're going to have to fill out a form and then wait for a droid to approve it. You can read the Discord for more of that information. And if you check the Git book, it'll have more strategy fields that you can put in for proxies, bind IPs, and other stuff. Now this next section is all about mints, or the tokens you want to use for arbitrage. There's multiple ways you can do it. You can have a dynamic mint list, which is pulling stuff dynamically and updating. Or you can have a static list. You can list everything out in the config file. And finally, you can have it to where you can load it from a text or a JSON file. You can look all this up on the Git book, but for now, what we're going to have is just using dynamic mints. The main thing you need to know about the mint list in this current version is that you have to have the same lists in both the bot and Jupyter. So if there's anything missing in the other, you might not even be scanning for the token, or it might not be on a list for arbitrage. So just ensure that both the bot and NotArb are using the same lists. The last part of the config file will be all of your swap strategies. These will be the base tokens that you'll use to execute arbitrage. So you can set it to either USDC, Sol, and many others. There's a list that Spiff came out with that you can use as base tokens, so it just doesn't have to be Solana. When it comes to swap strategies, this is going to require another video. We're just trying to get the bot up and running for now. However, you can check the Git book for all the different settings. You can ask on Discord, and you're going to have to go through a lot of experimentation and figure out what works best for you. Diving into the Jupyter configuration, so we have this huge section of commented code. We can delete that just to make it look neater, and you can find all of this on the Git book. The main thing is configuring our environment settings. First off is setting our host. Now, if you're going to have the Jupyter API run on the same machine, you can leave it at 0.0.0.0. However, if you wanted others to connect to the API from like another server, then you can actually set the IP of that server machine. For port, you can leave it at 8080. You can set it to whatever you want, really, 6969. It'll still work. Just make sure that your other server or your other bots that are connecting to it use that port that you set here. Here's where we're going to set our RPC and gRPC information. Let's go ahead and uncomment the following lines. And then we'll go ahead and grab our RPC information from our provider. And here's where they display all their information for the endpoints. We're specifically looking at the Amsterdam endpoints for the GPA URL as well as the geyser. So take note of that. And with this info on the side, what we're going to do is we're going to start putting the information in the config file. We're first going to configure RPC URL. We're going to take where it says GPA URL and paste it in there. Next up is the Yellowstone gRPC endpoint. Where it says geyser, we're going to copy all that and paste it into there. And then I'm going to add the port 20001, and I'm going to remove the S from HTTPS, and that's pretty much the geyser endpoint. Because SwiftNode uses a whitelist system, we don't have an X token, so we can go ahead and add a comment to that line. And then we're going to ensure that the Yellowstone gRPC enabled ping is set to true. For this next section, we're going to uncomment the exclude DEX program IDs. The reason why is because every token on Moonshot or Pump Fund are just specific to those markets until they bond and hit Radium, and then hopefully other dexes like Orca or Meteora. And moving on to the mint section, so like I said before with the bot config, basically if you have mint lists that are on the bot, you have to make sure that they're the same on the Jupyter config. And here we can see that we have both dynamic, static, as well as file and URL. So like I said before, dynamic is basically pulling in everything from the Jupyter API, and depending on the conditions you set, it'll pull in those specific tokens. For the static, if you have anything you know you want to pull from, you can just place them in this section here and just copy the template format. And if you wanted to add something like Doge, then you can add that into here. For the text and JSON files, you can have those files loaded on your local machine and just make sure that the path is set to that file and ensure that you enable it. Like what it says in the comment, for the text files, every mint address is per line, and then in JSON, it'll be a single JSON list as described there. Same thing goes for the URL mints, then all you gotta do, just the same thing. This will essentially give you an edge if you make your own list and have it automated somehow, but that's for you to find out, experiment with, and then see if anyone else has any other strategies that they use to make their mint lists. We're going to now go into the shell scripts. This is where we're going to maximize the use of our resources that our server has. The only things we're going to be adjusting will be in the VM-arg section, and that'll be the XMS or initial heap size, as well as the XMX for the maximum heap size. Depending on how much RAM your server has, you want to adjust these accordingly. Remember, you have to leave room for every other process as well as the Jupyter API. And you can see here that we have M for megabytes, and then you can use G for gigabytes. So we can turn this 2040 megabyte into just 2G. And if we go into the run Jupyter shell, then we can see under the VM args, we got the XMX 2048 megabyte, and we can just increase this to 4 gigabytes. Awesome. Let's go ahead and take all the files that we just updated and then upload them to the server. So bring back FileZilla. We're going to select the bot config, Jupyter config, key.txt, and then the run bot and run Jupyter shells and upload them. And then we want to overwrite the ones that are on the server. So let's also check the box where it says apply to the queue only and hit OK. And let's just run the bot just to see what happens, and hopefully it'll run. So we'll type in ./run-bot.sh, and then you can see here that it's initializing. And it's going through its cycles. And you can see our swap workers actually trying to do stuff. We see a lot of warnings because our Jupyter API is not running, so there's nothing really it can connect to. That's off to a good start. To stop this, all you gotta do is hold Control and press C, and the bot stops. We could do the same for Jupyter, but before we do that, let's go over screens. So screens allow you to have multiple terminal sessions at the same time, and this is going to allow you to have both NotArb and Jupyter run concurrently. All we gotta do at this point now is just type in ./run-screens.sh. It's gonna kill any existing screens that you might have had already, and then it's gonna start NotArb and Jupyter at the same time. So here you can see that you can type in screen-r and then Jupyter or NotArb, and that'll go into the individual screens. So let's go inside of Jupyter by typing in screen-r Jupyter, and you can see here that we're inside of it. To get out of it, we'll hold Control, press A, and then hit D to detach. Then to look at the screens that we have, we could type in screen-ls, and we can see we got Jupyter and NotArb. What I have here is I got both the NotArb and Jupyter screens side by side in different terminals, so you can see the different things going on. And yeah, that's the basics of screens, and that's how you get NotArb up and running. Thanks for watching this walkthrough of the NotArb platform. We hope this guide helped you get started with the basic setup and made the process as smooth as possible. In an upcoming video, we'll dive deeper into the strategies, optimizations, and how the bot works in order to maximize your profits. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions, run into issues, or have ideas for improvements, don't hesitate to share your thoughts by leaving a comment on this video or connect with us on Discord. Links are in the description below. Until then, good luck and see you on Discord.